Basically what we do is we're a full service landscape company with we do probably 75% residential. I come from a commercial background, but when you have one truck, it's kind of hard to get into the commercial end of things. So in the last year, we've gotten, we probably have, 10 or 15 larger apartment and office complexes downtown. And that's kind of where we're heading. But what I like to do is we do large installation projects. We do stuff like flagstone patios and pavers and walls and fire pits and plantings. Like my guys right now, right before I got here, it's where I'm a bit dirty. We just took off 2,000 plants off a delivery truck, and we're doing this, big backyard installation, conservation landscaping in Potomac. The one thing I will say that I've learned from a lot of the, mentors I've had in the industry is that you got to supplement that with something that's steady. And for us, that's maintenance. That's the pruning and the mowing, because, if the economy's bad, the grass still grows, And if you're a homeowner, you might go out there and mow your lawn. But if you're a property manager and you've got a, 300 unit building, you're probably not going to go take care of the grounds, So we've had, I have a crew that does my maintenance for me, and I've got a crew that does installation, and they work together. But a lot of the guys that I know who did well through the last 5-6 years were more heavy on the maintenance. So, I guess, a lot of things that I had to do was you just got to be confident in yourself, and say yes. I was, one thing that I heard when I first started my own business was that they said a landscape contractor gets to $1 million in sales by saying yes, and then he gets to $2 million by saying no. So we're still in the yes phase, But then I'm in the office at 6 o'clock, and I probably won't go home until about 10 this evening, and that's every day. Sundays I get a couple hours of football this time of year, but that's about it, So for me, it's kind of I'm out there by myself, So if I'm not talking to people and communicate and have a network, it's going to be pretty difficult to stay afloat. That maybe you don't want to do, That means taking a client's dog out to go to the bathroom when you've got a college degree and you run a big business, That's just suck it up and grab the leash, And I guess the thing for me that's been the most difficult is I love, anything to do with planting, being outside, taking care of the landscape, beautifying projects, or doing stuff for practical purposes. But I'm not, before I started this, I didn't know how to file tax stuff or do payroll or invoicing, estimates, all this kind of software things. And I have to do all that. We're not at a point where I can hire somebody to be my, bookkeeper or work full time for me and do the, the little things. So, it's basically the more successful you are, you're going to do less of the stuff that you got into the business to do. Every hour extra that I spend outside with my guys, which is my favorite part of the day, is another 3 hours in the evening I got to be in the office doing stuff. So I've got to find a balance. And the one thing that I've always found is that, I've hired guys, I've poached them off a lot of the companies I used to work for. And I might have to pay them a little bit more than what I could get away with, but I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
Like the guys that run my mowing crews, they've been doing mowing for so long that, this morning I was with my install guys. I didn't even speak to them. They're somewhere out in Virginia somewhere, Who knows by now, but they're doing a good job. And if they ever need anything, they're always going to hop on the phone with me. And they communicate with my clients. So I guess for me, the best thing is I've just been able to sacrifice a little bit of the profit to allow for, to have guys that are trustworthy, show up to the job, know what they're doing. Basically, the buck stops with me on everything. So, if a guy screws up and does something wrong, it's on me. And if they do a good job, it's on me too. And you've got to share that with everybody. I see the guys I work with, I see a lot more than I see any of my family or my friends. So you got to create an environment that they like to work in, but also that I like to work in, because I don't have somebody above me that's kind of making me do this. I got to get up on my own, and I can't hit snooze when I want to. So I got a loan from my parents, small loan, that I was lucky to pay off in our first year of business, and then just been me.
Like what, 10,000 or 50,000?
It was $7,500.
7,500.
Yeah. Yeah, and that got me a trailer, and I had a truck from, school, and I was able to be smart with my money throughout school and even in high school, saving and investing in things. And I bought my first house right when I got out of college, so I've been able to lean on that to, give me truck loans and things like that.
And how'd you get your first couple of contracts?
Well, basically, from the residential standpoint, using these neighborhood listservs nowadays and things like that, you don't have to spend a dime, and all you have to do is good work. So you get in with somebody who's a friend of mom and dad's or a friend of this cousin. You do good work, and you ask them, hey, can you put Yelp's been a big thing for us. They put a review on Yelp for us, or they put it on the neighborhood listserv, saying, hey, this is a great guy. The other thing you got to realize, especially with fuel costs now, is we try and centralize where we're at. If I've got one house in Potomac and then one house in McLean, I'm not going to make any money with all the money. So you've got to try and focus. So we kind of use listservs. When I worked for other companies, I'd get off of work and throw my uniform in the back of the truck and be able to do whatever I want. I've got signs on my company, so that guy that cuts you off at 5 in the morning, you can't let him know how you're feeling, because maybe that guy's got $1 million contract for you. And if everybody you meet's a potential client, and so you always have to be on your best behavior, and you always have to kind of represent. I'm a walking representation of my company, and so it's something you got to remember. But you also got to balance things, like I might work 14, 15 hours a day, but I make sure that when I get home, I've got like an hour to do something that I like to do. I might sit outside with my dog and have a cigar or something like that, whatever, and it allows me to recharge a bit, because I run myself into the ground enough. If I didn't have like a couple hours a week to do something fun to let it unwind, I'd probably run myself dry pretty quick. The one thing about our industry that's probably different from what Anna talked about is we're seasonal. So the majority of my employees don't work in the wintertime, and I do, but not much money's coming in unless it snows, and here it's iffy with snow contracts. So it's something like between the fall and the spring, I've got a plan to get 80% of my revenue. So there's things you got to think about in that sense, and that's one of the benefits. Like right now is go time, but I know by December 15th I'm gonna put the phone on mute for a couple hours in the morning. It'll give me some time to recharge. I can't be in the moment as much as I used to be. I've got to be thinking ahead. What's our next season? Do we have our plows ready? Do I need to get in a new snow blower? Did I change the oil in that machine? Our first year we probably did 150,000 in gross sales. This year we're closer to 450. Well, every time we make a growth change, like a new truck or a new employee, I'm kind of like obsessed with numbers. So I break it down, and it's not taken lightly, because a lot of the problems that we have in our industry is that people will just see the money rolling in, it'll just grow, and then they'll realize, oh, my overhead cost for a month is and then business is slow and they just crap out. And the other thing is, like, a lot of the guys is, $10,000 isn't $10,000 when you own a business. I got workman's compensation, which isn't cheap for what I do, taxes, wages, fuel. So after all that, but a lot of people, when they're new in business, they see that 10 grand check and they go and blow it, or buy something fancy, or buy an equipment, even something practical like a piece of equipment. If you see 10 grand, you go buy a $5,000 snowplow because you said, oh, that's only half of what I got from the job, and then you realize once all the costs come out, you're in the hole. So